Well, hello, everybody. How are we today? Miss Kathy's cutting up a vegetable. What vegetable am I cutting up? Yep, it's a cucumber. Getting ready to have a little picnic lunch. Do you guys like to go on a picnic? All right, let me put that down. I'm bad, huh? Ever snack on food while you're making it? But that's okay. There's only my husband and I here. And our little doggie, I might give her this one. I don't know if that doggies can have cucumbers or not. But we'll save that for her for later. And if I do research and she can't, I won't give it to her. But I want to tell you guys, please forgive me for eating on you. There. Much better? I love cucumbers. I have another story about cucumbers, but I want to tell you today about a picnic that my family and I went on. There was a little park in our hometown. Well, technically that wasn't our hometown. It was a town next to us, my hometown, that had the park. And so my mom would load myself and my 4 other siblings, and we'd go and spend the afternoon at the park. And she'd pack cucumbers, potato salad, coleslaw, watermelon, lots of watermelon, and some sandwiches. And sometimes she would pack deviled eggs, depending on how many people were meeting us there, because sometimes our other family members met us there. Well, when I was real little, my mom could put me in the little swing, the little black swing. The base of it was black, like about so big. I'm not sure if I can get my hands in there, about like this. And then I had the metal chains, and you hung on to the chains, and my sibling would give me a push, or my mom would give me a push, and then she'd go off to the picnic area to start get everything out of the cooler and stuff. And my siblings would go off and they would do the merry-go-round. They would go down the slide. They'd go down those things that you'd sit on and you'd ride it like a little horse, but it would just go back and forth like that. Different things. They had all kinds of different things that we could go do. Well, I would sit there and I would swing and swing. And then I learned that if you push your legs a certain way, you could go farther. Push them out like this and then back and push them back. And my parents liked that because you know what I was doing? Unbeknownst to me, I was exercising my legs and using my leg muscles. And they just appreciated that. Well, over time, I got too big to go on that swing. And one summer, we'd go out there and came to the park, and right smack dab in the middle of the park was this huge, and I mean, I can't even put it in the camera, it was huge, metal swing. It had 3 metal, you could make them out of wood nowadays. I think a lot of them do, the big adult swings, because it had a back on it, and then it had the base on it, but they were all metal. It was like 3 slats on the bottom, and 3 slats on the back, and then it had the metal, big chains that were like this big around. I mean, they were huge. And I was like mesmerized. But I didn't know it swing. I just thought it sat there, and I sat on it. And so when I realized it would swing, and so my siblings would come and they'd give me a push, and I would sit there and I would just wee. Well, then all of a sudden it would stop. And then I'm like, oh, how do I get it to go? I can't. I'm pushing with my legs and it wouldn't budge. But you know what? Over time, I figured it out. I pushed with my legs a certain way, and oof, I could get it to go, and then I could get it going. But of course, because it was a big metal swing and it was made for adults, they didn't want it to go wee. Have you ever had an underdog? I used to love getting an underdog. And that's where you swing really high, and the person that's pushing you runs underneath the swing that you're on. And it was amazing. But this big metal one could only go, but I could get it to go. Well, I'm waiting for my mom to do that. And of course, things happen. You have to go to the restroom or you get thirsty, being out there in the sun. So I'd get up and I'd go to the bathroom and go potty. And then I'd get a drink of water and I'd go back to the metal swing because nobody else was still sitting on it. So I'd get over there and then I was swinging away and I'm swinging away, still waiting for Mama to call us for lunch. And all of a sudden, this 4-year-old boy walks up to me. And he said, "What's wrong with your leg?" I looked at him like, "What do you mean, what's wrong with my leg?" He goes, "I don't mean this or that, but the way you're walking is different than the way I walk. And I went, well, yeah. But I could, and I'm like, no one's ever asked me before that. And I'm like, well, but see, people used to pick on me when I was in elementary school. Other kids would call me names like Hop Along, Crip, Cripple. Oh, I didn't like those names. They were very hurtful. And they would do a lot of little mean things to me, but that's a whole nother story for another time. And I'm like, and they would tell me I had a disease. I had cooties and I had a disease and it was gross and they didn't want to be around me. And I'm like, I'm thinking and looking at this little boy's eyes. I'm like, I can't tell him I have a disease because I don't have a disease. I was born this way. And it felt like an hour had gone by without me in my brain trying to process, what do I tell this little boy? What do I tell this little boy? Well, I no sooner could say to him, well, and that's literally all I got out. Well, when all of a sudden his mother came by, she grabbed him by the arm and she went, whoo! I mean, that little boy went, literally his little body, 4-year-old body went flying right past my face. I just like a kite, and she was screaming at him, don't you talk to her. Don't you say those things to her. And I don't remember the whole conversation because, again, I was 13 years old and that was over 40 years ago. Just say it. So I'm trying to think, what he didn't do anything wrong. I definitely didn't do anything wrong. And tears started coming down my eyes because I felt bad for that little boy because he was flying across, and all the way out the park, all the way to the car. I watched him. He was just, and his mother's yelling at him, don't you, and I don't remember what she was saying. And I don't think she was trying to be mean to me. I think she was trying to defend me and saying that I shouldn't come up and talk to, he shouldn't come up and talk to me. I don't know, maybe it's because I was a stranger or maybe he was a curious little boy. Curiosity gets the best of you. My daddy always said to me, curiosity kills the cat, because I'm a very curious person. I can be. But I remember just seeing him get there and she put him in the car and they took off. And I'm sitting there just slowly, just kind of, my swinging went from to, and all of a sudden I hear this little voice go, the next time somebody asks you, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your leg or your arm? Because again, my hand, because back then before my surgery, my hand was up like this. So this is how I was swinging, it was like this. So I was hanging on with dear life with one hand and just swinging. And I thought, okay, well, what do I tell them then? You tell them that you were born with cerebral palsy and you've had it all your life and you'll have it all your life here on this earth. And from that moment on, I'd get down to the child's level and I'd say, I have cerebral palsy and this is, what it is. And I'd let them feel my scar here on my hand and show them the scar here and let them feel it. And then I have scars on my legs, and if they were looking at my legs, and then at that time I had braces on, so I'd let them feel my braces, how the metal is, and let them ask their questions, and then they'd be off on their merry way, because the time that we spend with them, it educates them, but it made me feel better knowing that they weren't calling me a nasty name, and they were looking at me like I was human, as human that I am. God has blessed me very much. And he's worked a lot of things in my life. Someday I'll tell more stories because the Lord has used me in a lot of ways for his glory. And I've got a lot of stories to tell. So subscribe and like this video. If you like this video, leave me a comment to say you liked it. And what more would you like to learn more about? Okay? Thanks. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.